In this episode of America Needs to Know, I'm covering the topic of the bad intent for blockchain technology, how the 666 system could possibly be forced into play. So since my finding of Bitcoin, 6 years ago, and kind of curiously seeing what that was all about, in the back of my mind, I always said, because of my technology background, especially with the internet, I felt that this had the potential to definitely be used to entrap people. And as I became more aware of all things fiat currency and economics and in our situation, especially in the United States, and the dollar being used as a world reserve currency and how that was dying rapidly, I saw a need for something to replace it without the flexibility that we have right now. So even right now in this decaying system, we have the ability to swap out the digital currencies of dollars into real cash that we can still use as a storage to buy stuff. We can enter freely in and out of gold and silver. So there is means of exchange between these different, I call them asset classes, even though I don't consider paper money any sort of asset whatsoever, but you can still get in and out of it. So there is some flexibility, and merchants and people that produce things will accept these different forms, and all is well. So the next slide I'm going to go to is, okay, remember the Ponzi Scheme 2.0 is their plan. All right, so they really rode this Ponzi Scheme number one as hard as they could for quite a long time. But I think they realize it's coming to the end, and the people are extremely angry and frustrated, especially after the 2008 crash and what happened there. They tried to make it all feel better here by pumping tons of dollars into the stock market, propping up major corporations with stock buybacks due to basically 0% interest rates. So it's all fantasy land, especially in the stock market, and I think they're not able to hold that together for much longer. So they need a new Ponzi scheme, but they need even more control, and here's how I think they are going to get it. Now, this is my speculation, but I don't think I'm too far off based on what I know about the technologies at hand and what I've seen come out in the media, some different tests that they're trying to do on the people. So again, please remember that the power to create money makes you the master of the free world. So whoever has the power to create that money that everyone uses, they are the masters. It's lock, stock, barrel, done. Back in 2003, I wrote my tech thesis paper in college about digital rights management. So back in that time, there was peer-to-peer networks like BearShare, Kazaa, and I just remember, being a poor internet student, a lot of the times for the Adobe software, we needed to use it, but we couldn't afford the $1,200 price tag on it, for the licensing fee. So there was different serial hack numbers you could do to open up the software and use it, for educational purposes, because that was the tools of the trade, especially if you're going to do anything related to the internet. And I just said, man, these companies, they must, really be taking a loss of money on their software and intellectual property. There's got to be a better way to, secure the software. And so as I got into it, digital rights management, sure enough, came about. And how that really happened was, through the use of the internet and centralized databases holding those unique serial keys. And a unique serial key, if you look at it, is just a very long combination of numbers and letters that is unique to itself. And so when, sure enough, as the years went by, we see that the entire thing, when it comes to software, is turned into a pay-to-rent model. So now Adobe has nothing but a subscription level, and they price it such a way that psychologically you're like, oh, okay, it's a little bit more affordable for me just to pay $50 a month, and I have access to all the Adobe Suite tools, yada yada yada, right? So you're in this forever pay-to-play model. And so we're essentially renting all the software that we use instead of just owning it outright. And the pitch is, well, hey, you get the latest version, update all the time, and that's kind of how they market it to you. You're getting the latest and greatest, without having to rebuy this all over again. So they did that, and so through the internet, the node will go out to the server, verify that, indeed the serial number is unique to your own user ID information, and if it matches up, it lets you into the software. If it doesn't, or you haven't paid your subscription fee, it basically the software will not work. Are there hackers out there that can get around that? I assume so, but your average person, doesn't, right? So they pretty much locked it up pretty good. So the same idea I see is morphing now into a more sinister plot as all the world fiat currencies are dying, and they're dying because of the mismanagement, the excessive amounts of money printing and the inflation that is taking place. I mean, we have Venezuela that is, hyperinflating. I saw a news article come out that they're expected to have 700% inflation in, I want to say, was it this year alone? Or next year alone, one of the years, but in 1 year, 700% inflation and a 10% loss of GDP growth. I mean, it's just terrible. So, that's happening everywhere. So, again, the currencies were dying due to their initial separation from real money, gold and silver. I know there is a debate about that, but in the United States Constitution, they outlined silver, certain weight of silver as money. And the only reason for that was because they knew that government could get out of control and create more money into the system than actually there really was. So the physical gold and silver kind of keeps the derivative money in check because there's supposed to be a ratio between the two, and the people see that getting out of hand, they just convert their paper currency back for the gold, get their hands on the real thing, real money, and that kept that that money printing in check. So it was kind of like this ebb and flow. But of course, they cut the tie there, and all they gave you was the derivative, which is your dollars, now digital and or in paper format. So an evil government, a corrupt government, is always looking to give you, the people, a derivative of any asset and money that has real value, not the actual thing. So again, they want you to borrow, but at the end of the day, the corporation still owns it, or the government still has rights to your property. I mean, think of property taxes, for example. You have paid off your house and everything free and clear, but you still have to pay the property taxes. If you don't pay the property taxes, ultimately your house can get taken away from you. Really, really corrupt. So anyways, this problem and idea is being taken to a whole new level now that cryptocurrencies have entered into the game, and I want to show you kind of how I think it'll work. So if you're not familiar with cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever, on the network, each of the network, to participate, you need a wallet ID, or an address basically. And look at here, the address that's created is this unique, again, string of numbers and letters. And the concept behind Bitcoin initially for being anonymous is you actually could generate as many of these wallet addresses as you wanted. So if you could have 10, 15, 20, and you could use them all to send and receive Bitcoin, right? So it kept you very anonymous. But nonetheless, you needed one of these to participate into the new system. Now, I see a marriage between this string of numbers and letters into the physical RFID chip that now is actually being implanted into humans. You got stupid people that are thinking this is some cool new piece of technology. There was a company in Wisconsin, that did this, and employees, I think 50 employees voluntarily, signed up. Oh, yes, this is cool. I can use this. I get access to the vending machines. I mean, just stupid stuff, right? And they're like, oh yeah, put this chip in my hand. That's awesome. Great piece of wearable tech. And then some people say, well, we already have our cell phone in our hands. What's the difference, right? Well, I can put my cell phone down, or I can throw it away if I don't want to, and it's not part of me anymore. This is part of you now. Okay, and here's how I see it going down. So growing up, I was a big video game guy. I loved real-time strategy games, Age of Empires, that sort of thing. And I think the end result of what they're trying to do is they're trying to take us into this game mentality. So here you are in one of these strategies. You build out your resources, right? But you have this currency or coins that can only be used in this game, right? So I know this concept is used in massive multiplayer games where I forget some of the names of the games off the top of my head, but I know some people like in that virtual currency have bought big old homes. Like they'll have spent a few $1,000s of real money to go into, convert into this game currency to buy these, fictitious digital assets or properties that their other, buddies, avatars can come enjoy and hang out with them in this virtual world. I mean, it's bizarro, but these games sucked up millions of dollars in doing that. All right, so it's being done in video games right now, and I think this is their intent to do it for real. And so what's happening is they're tokenizing things, okay? It's a concept of tokens, digital tokens. And so there's going to be a marriage between, right down here I show kind of the staples of life, the commodities, right? Your beans, your energy, your wheat, and food like that. And I think their end goal here to force everyone on the system is to create a coin that represents each of these products. So like, coffee coin or a wheat coin, okay? And I'm going to show you how this might be able to happen. So, because we have an unholy marriage between central bankers and the governments, the power to create money is centralized, okay? And they're working kind of hand in hand. Trillions of digital currency, as we know, is at their disposal. As we've seen all this money get pumped in the stock market, that's why the stock market has continued to go up and up and up no matter what. No matter how bad the economic data has come out, it's just gone up and up and up because they're just pumping this digital currency and trading it for shares of stock. And the central banks are doing it and the companies are doing it. So anyways, it's all through the debt. But I think what's going to happen is, I think there's going to be some sort of trigger that will get this rolling. But either they're going to lay claim to all the necessary staples of life that we, the people, actually need to function and survive, right? Your food, clothing, shelter, all this stuff, right? And they're either going to do it by initially buying up all of the commodities because they have all the currency to do. And one example of this would be Freddie Mae, was it Freddie Mac or Freddie Mae? I forget which one it is. But anyways, how they were able to actually nationalize home mortgages after 2008, right? So initially it was private banks that were offering these home mortgage lending, and because there was so much toxic assets in there, the central banks and governments actually had to take possession of it. And so the biggest, largest holder of these companies was the U.S. government themselves. And so therefore, the owner of your mortgage essentially is the U.S. government. And so I think they're just going to do this with everything as everything starts to fall apart. So these producers, so the actual big corporations that produce the food and all this stuff, are going to be in some sort of form of nationalization forced to price their products into the market, not as they were with dollars anymore, but the new crypto coin that represents it. So like the coffee coin or the wheat coin, okay? And so, therefore they will. Okay, so here's this wheat, and it's the wheat coin. It's the only way you can buy my wheat is if you give me this wheat coin. And of course, it's a digital cryptocurrency. That's the only form it exists in. And so now the producers of the wheat or coffee are digitally representing their products and commodities as these tokens, basically. And so the next level is to get this products to you. Retail stores and grocery stores now must convert all of their dollars that they had once on hand into these coins. So thus the new system is pretty much vacuuming up all the destroyed fiat currency and retiring it out of use. In a hyperinflation scenario, much like in Venezuela, I think people will most likely they want to convert their currency into something different anyways. They're either trying to buy it into real things, or they're trying to get it out of that, out of their own currency into something else, whether it's gold, silver, or Bitcoin, the US dollar at this time, they're just trying to get out of it. So I believe this is the lie and the trap that's being set for not only America, but the entire world. So what does this mean? So since everything we now want to buy is priced as a crypto coin and made digital, we the peasants are not in possession of the correct tool anymore to transact in commerce in this new system that is being put forth. So now we must go, if we want to, continue life as normal and get the things we need, we must receive our unique digital wallet ID that is only contained in an RFID chip and must be implanted into our body. So once again, this will be generated for, John Smith's information. All that will be set up into this RFID chip and implanted into John Smith. Now John Smith can participate into the new system and life goes on as usual. So this chip will contain all the information about us, health records, everything, and tracks our physical movement as well. And I believe this is the reason why 5G is quickly coming into implementation, because it's going to need to be there to handle all the new bandwidth that, all the interconnected items of things and eventually people will be, on this network. And that will be the final trap. There will be no way out of it. So that's my take on how this would move into a purely digitized economy, and how people would be forced to participate in it, even against their will. If you wanted even to get food to eat, clean water, energy for your home, etc., you'd have to do all that. Because one example is, let's say that the housing market crashes again because the dollar has died, right? So your mortgage is priced in dollars. So you have $100,000 left to pay on your mortgage. Well, if the dollar's blown out of existence, does that mean you get your home for free? You're saying, well, hey, the dollar's no more. Or it's been hyperinflated so bad, for example, like people who own gold and silver, let's say, gold goes to whatever, $100,000 per ounce, right? Does that mean you can walk into the bank and put down 1 ounce of gold and pay off your entire house? That's a nice idea. I wish that was the case, but I don't think so. Okay, because remember, the goal is to always have possession on the real things. You never really get to own the real things in your life under this sort of beast system. So instead, what they're going to do is say, Mr. John Smith, we know you have $100,000 on your mortgage left to pay. This is actually now, this loan has been converted into 50,000 home token or whatever, right? 50,000 home tokens. You're like, well, I don't have any of those. They're like, well, sir, you can exchange, all the dollars you have on hand or anything, into these home tokens. Your employer is now, is going to be paying you in salary tokens that can be exchanged here digitally into home tokens, right? To pay us with. And you're like, oh, okay, how do I get that? Well, you have to go down to your local social service center, and they will get you set up with your unique ID and implanted with an RFID chip, so you can now participate. And you're like, oh, okay. So anyways, when you go to the grocery store, you're going to go, hey, I'd like to get some food. Here's my cash. They're like, oh, sorry, we don't even accept cash. I don't think people are going to be in there to service you, to be honest with you. I think, I know Amazon is trying to push out Amazon Go, which is basically all self-serve. There's like a security guard to make sure no one's stealing anything. But otherwise, you put stuff into your cart, and it's all being monitored and tracked, and you just leave the store and your Amazon account gets dinged. I think that sort of concept is going to be implemented. I know IBM has run some commercials showing a scenario just like that. So the infrastructure and all that is in place, and they're definitely trying to push us that way. It's not a good way to go. But that's my take. I'd love to hear your comments, see what your thoughts are on this as well. Maybe I'm missing something, but that's what I think might happen. All right, guys, just something to think about later.